Welcome everyone to episode number 8 of Faking It. For those of you who are just joining in, Faking It is a podcast based on the notion that we're all just getting through life, experience by experience, faking it till we make it. This week, episode 8, I had the pleasure of interviewing musician and a dear old friend of mine, Lara Martin, who is also our first guest who will perform on the show. Here we go. How you doing?
I'm doing well, Liz. How are you?
I'm good. We're in your beautiful, awesome, spacious Queen West apartment.
Yes,
Yes,
indeed.
we are. So we're going to talk a little bit about music today.
Excellent.
And why would we be doing that? Are you like some musician or something? Or why am I here?
Well, I'm releasing an album called
Ooh.
When We Were Light.
Oh, I actually didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know you had an album. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't know the title of it. When We Were Light. Very cool.
When We Were Light. Yeah.
Okay. And what is that? What's the meaning behind that title?
Well, that's a good question, Liz.
It doesn't have to have an answer.
When We Were Light, I chose that title because light has kind of a double meaning of weightlessness and light, as in light from the sky or the sun or the stars. And for me, that title is about getting back to your essential self. So the time in your life when you feel a weightlessness or an ease or a lightness, right?
Childhood for me.
Yeah, it could be childhood. And for me, also, I kind of think of it on an abstract spiritual sense, like where did we all come from?
Okay.
When we're young, when we're innocent, we
have less shit to worry about.
We have less inhibitions, less weightiness.
Yeah.
But also, it refers to one of the title tracks, which is really about a relationship that goes from being very weightless and full of love and lightness and magic to heaviness and doom.
Being around a relationship, is that sort of like, I find if there's something that's going on for a really long time and it sort of compacts onto itself and you might not even realize that you've changed.
Yes.
That's sort of what I feel when I hear you talk about the title of that track, or about it being about a relationship, that sometimes we can kind of lose ourselves in, like, I find it's compacting over time.
That's exactly it. So it's sometimes, yeah, when you're with somebody for a long time, you make so many concessions, and sometimes you try to modify yourself so much or adapt yourself so much that you lose a sense of who you were essentially before that whole thing started. And then that starts to feel really confining and imprisoning, and you start to feel like you're in a cage that you can't get out of.
Right.
It's not to say, I think there are some relationships that go through that and are able to come out on the other end safely. But for me, it was a case of starting out in a very blissful, in love situation, just feeling like, this was it for me. And then sort of a disillusionment and things kind of disintegrating and falling apart. And then me realizing, wow, I have to grab for that life raft of who I was before this whole thing started, because I think I really, really allowed myself to lose sight of who that person was. And
yeah, it sounds like you're taking responsibility for it, which is a really important place to be on, like, the path of healing, I think.
Yeah,
because sometimes people will be like, well, that fucking guy, too much, where it becomes...
It's not to say that there isn't a little bit
there's definitely a give and take there.
Yeah. No, but also
That's not to say it's all my fault.
No, but it's also to say that, like, there are some songs on the album that reflect an angrier side of myself, right? But this particular song is more about mourning the loss of that person. Okay. Right?
Yeah.
So, this song is not really about that kind of vengeful anger or anything like that. It was really about just remembering the beautiful moments at the beginning of the relationship, and also being torn between feeling like it is the right time to let something go or to say goodbye to something, but then being so Entangled is exactly it. Entangled with the good memories. So sometimes,
because if you have the pros and cons, you're starting to wave and like weigh, and you're saying, shit,
exactly.
What if the pros and the cons are equal?
Yes. So it's like, I think it can be, not to say that it's easier, but it can be a little bit simpler if something is like terrible or happy. But
super
when
obvious.
It's so intermingled as it so often is, then it becomes really, really difficult when you know maybe on a gut level it's time to let this go, but you still have some really, really happy memories, some of the happiest memories of your life that are associated with this person or this situation.
Is the album sort of on just that specific theme of like the journey? Is it the journey of coming back to like finding that life raft?
I would say that
or
that's kind of a theme that runs throughout, but a lot of these songs were written over the course of several years. So some of these songs date back like 5 years, even before this whole situation. So it really is a little bit of a time capsule of the last several years of my life. And so it spans a lot of different themes. That is maybe an overarching theme, just like trying to get back to my essential creative voice, whatever that may be. But the songs are about all different subjects. Some relationship based, some just life experiences.
Right. So, yeah. And so consider, we just jumped right in there, but I'd like to kind of start a little at the beginning of where, like, how long music's been in your life and how it's been in your life.
Right. So, okay. So when I think about music, it's so hard for me to specifically pinpoint when it entered my life. Yeah, because
do you not have a memory without it?
Well, not really, no. And I think it's partly because my dad is Irish, an Irish lad, so he is. So I've always
Does he play the spoons?
He plays the spoons and it's just like I always remember, like, since I was a kid, music has always been the backdrop of my childhood and my life. Like, my dad was always blasting out an old Hank Williams tune. He really likes the old timey country. And or playing some music in the house, or singing in the shower. There was just always music around me growing up.
Yeah, I can totally identify with that for sure.
Yeah, and it's not something that was. Also, I don't know if I mentioned this, but my brother is also an Elvis impersonator.
Oh yes, I did know that.
So yeah, we've had many different kinds of music.
And it's just you and your brother?
My brother, yeah, and myself. They're the ones that kind of took up the mantle of musicality.
Were your parents ever like professional musicians?
No, just
fans, like
fans.
Just big fans,
and also, like, I have to give them a lot of credit in saying that, like, they always made a point of taking us to shows and concerts.
There's a nurturing level of, like, they were willing to do those things.
Yeah,
such an important part of
music,
but childhood.
And also, I will say that, like, it was also a kind of a big part of, like, family gatherings, like, just
in what way? Just together. Because somebody would be like, I'm going to put on my favorite record, or, like, is somebody playing music when you're at your family gatherings?
Like, either my brother would be playing music, or we'd be all singing together.
Oh, cool.
There was just I guess it's like my family had a bit of a culture of
music was a part of the community.
As a part of community, yeah, totally.
What does your brother play? Like, is he a musician in terms of, like, plays an instrument?
Yeah, he plays guitar and he sings in the Elvis manner that he does. But he also
Elvis manner, cool.
Yeah. So we actually have
me tender, I love you.
You know it.
I've been to those Elvis festivals.
Yeah,
dude.
and he actually he won one year.
Yes,
in his
he did.
Category in Collingwood.
I saw him in the catalog. That it was I forget his name. What's your brother's name?
Matt Martin.
Matt Martin,
Yeah.
winning the Elvis Festival. I actually
Yeah.
have a friend who competes as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very cool. It's a great time, that Elvis weekend. Like,
It is
it's a bit of an oddity because you're like in this strange, like it's all of a sudden Collingwood, this very like quaint sort of like in the winter ski time, snowboard time village.
Yeah.
And in the summer, I'd say a lot of retired people.
Yeah.
And then it just sort of spikes with just like cool cars and all these people who are just Elvis at different eras.
Yep.
It's just, I think it's odd.
I
It's quite
know.
odd.
It brings Elvises from all over the world.
Yeah, it's the biggest
just
one in the
congregating
world, I think.
and competing.
Right.
Yeah.
To be the top. That's cool that your brother won. That's actually a very interesting accomplishment because there's tons of people who compete.
It is. It is.
So you yourself play piano.
Yeah, that's right.
And how did you, like, how was that a part of your childhood, or were you sort of a later in life finder of your instrument?
Well, I took piano lessons from when I was a tiny tot, I guess.
A tiny tot?
Well, maybe just 4 or something like that.
Tiny piano tot.
A young one.
Yes.
A young one. But I have to say that my instrument playing, I'm very much a by ear kind of gal.
Okay, and what does that mean for the non-instrumental
Well,
people?
there are many musicians out there who are very technically based in their musicianship, and I so admire that.
Oh yeah, me too.
But I have
Not
always,
your brand.
No,
No?
no. I just have always been someone who just plays by ear essentially, and for better or for worse, there's been times where I felt really limited with that.
Oh really?
Yeah, but then there are other moments where I'm grateful because
Are you, because you're keeping it simple in a way?
keeping it simple, but also I think I'm a pretty good listener. Like,
Totally. I mean,
you know?
just coming from being in your audience before, I don't think
Yeah.
people would be able to be like, oh, she's not Royal Conservatory material. Do you know what I mean?
Thanks, Liz.
That's a solid
Yeah.
compliment of yours. I mean, many people who I know have watched you have been like, damn, and
Yeah.
also just your voice. We'll get into the whole you're a performer and other levels
Sure.
as well. But yeah, so music was. So you just sort of, if you were in the, were you in the conservatory classes where they're just basically teaching you level by level?
Yeah,
okay.
I did a few conservatory lessons with a very old school piano teacher. Like, picture a very elderly woman. Who knows if she's still with us? God rest her soul.
God rest her soul.
But
Did she have a
anyhow,
riding crop?
She did not.
She beat you? No.
But she was really very quite strict and stern, and I think there was a little bit of fear that came over me.
Totally, I get
also
that, yeah.
with her. But
Why?
Well, just really the very old school kind of teaching, right? Although I do recall doing a few little recitals and her busting out some ice cream sandwiches, which was really one of the highlights.
That
for
is a
me,
highlight.
Liz.
I was always terrified of those recitals.
Yeah.
I played saxophone at a recital, and it was...
Yeah.
I mean, listening to someone play saxophone just by themselves, it's not really that interesting. You need something else going on. And I just felt like I was in the biggest, most echoiest room.
Yeah.
And I could just hear, everyone could hear you could hear the keys moving. I hated recitals for saxophone. It was disgusting.
No, I mean
it's
recitals
cool,
in general,
but-
I think they can be just so intense that yeah.
I wasn't really interested in being a concert musician in terms of let me perform in this way.
Yeah.
So how did that morph out of being sort of a regimented level type thing as it is within music? How did that morph out of into you writing your own music or?
Yeah. Well, it was kind of a long-winded process. I actually came at it pretty late in life compared to a lot of songwriters. I think for me what it was is I ended up when I was 20 years old, Liz, I ended up going to acting school in Toronto and studied musical theater and acting. And I was really drawn to theater for a little while. And I'm so glad and grateful that I had the opportunity to do that schooling because I realized that in addition to music being a huge part of my growing up, theater was always a huge thing in our household. So we always went to the theater. We always would support friends or family members that were part of theatrical productions. And many of my own family members were involved in different levels of theater.
Your parents too?
Actually, my dad is in a seniors theater group right now as we speak.
That's awesome.
Yeah. He's going to be putting on a big performance. I just want to give a big shout out to my dad.
Where is it? Tell us all about it.
That is going to be at the Boys and Girls Club in London, Ontario.
Yeah.
I believe it's on April 22nd, Liz, but allow me to correct that if I'm wrong, but
I'll print it up. I'll link it up.
Yeah.
That's great. I think we should celebrate that.
Yeah, no, it's so awesome.
Yeah.
But I guess like all this to say that like because of the
nurturing
theater,
that you kind of had in that way, right? It was like an incubation period.
Yes. And also I think honestly like one of the things that theater school taught me and helped to instill in me is just how much I personally love, and I think like all people really love a good story, right? Yeah. And so that idea of like storytelling and then merging it with music started to become really appealing to me. Like also obviously you see it kind of manifest in musical theater, which I am a huge fan of. A lot of musicians like absolutely hate musical theater.
But I'm with you on
I secretly like just love it so much. Yeah. So
even the corniest things, I'm like, you sing it, wall to wall music. Let's just sing our day.
Yeah. No, I just love that.
Me too.
I love it. I wouldn't mind living in a musical, to be totally honest, Liz. Yeah, like just singing our way through life and all our problems. Right?
Yeah, it's just a good way to alleviate the pressure,
the stresses of life. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know, like just the storytelling aspects of studying acting and stuff just really got me like revved up about creating my own little mini stories in song form. And also I think I will give my dad another little nod here and just saying that my dad's always been super passionate about poetry. And it's
like quite the interesting fellow.
I know, my family's
I've met him before, but I really should just take him out for a coffee.
Yeah, I know, he is.
So Mr. Martin. No, tell me what you've been reading lately.
Yeah, he reads a lot, and he like growing up, I remember my dad memorizing or having memorized certain poems, would just kind of recite them in the same way that he would blast out a tune every once in a while.
Does he have a legitimate Irish accent?
He does.
I'm even a bigger fan now.
It makes it even more charming, right?
That is so charming.
Yeah. So I don't know. I like poetry like is something that was also really ingrained in
me.
Those
things kind of came together because you've got the story sort of aspect, the poetry, you're playing music, and then that's the perfect mixology for musician songstress.
You mix it up, you shake it up.
Fantastic.
But you know where that came from, actually, the inspiration to even try to do that was that when I was really young, I was very fortunate to get to see one of the most amazing people ever, Tori Amos. Okay. When I was
in a concert?
In concert in London, Ontario, a fairly small town, which to this day she wouldn't really tour there because she's too huge of an artist at this point to actually go there. But I saw her in a very small venue in London, Ontario when I was
once in a lifetime thing,
young, like probably in my late teens. And it was such a transformative moment because I remember just being like, so captivated by her, and she had this flaming red hair, and when she plays the piano it is like honestly like orgasmic. Like she just it's very sensual the way she plays the piano,
right?
But also she just channels so much intense emotion, and I felt like when I saw her I came home and I really had to like take my little kick at the can. So the result
you sort of still get that
dubious.
way though too. You sort of still get very inspired after concerts because you and I have gone to a couple concerts, and afterwards it's just like there's stars in our eyes of like, I've got to go home and do something about this.
Yeah, I think great art does that though. It's
totally.
Like it doesn't matter what the art form. Like
no, you're right. Yeah,
it just revs you up to want to create something yourself, and I think that's a really beautiful alchemy that can happen,
yeah.
You know?
So you went home and wrote your own song and just kept going from there.
I wrote a little number. No, but like it was actually
I wrote a little number.
A little number. It was kind of dormant for a while. Like after that, I think it was a seed that was planted in my head at that time. But then obviously I went to theater school and I kind of chose to do some different things. And it was probably my friend Melissa. Like when I saw one of my best friends performing at a little cafe in Toronto at one point, I just had this moment where I was like, I just want to revisit that and try that again. And then it just felt so great to create something of myself, as opposed to, because when you're acting, you are still using
other people's
material, right? So it felt really empowering to be able to like give voice to my own personal thoughts in song form.
Right.
So,
And then so you went from that into wanting to perform in a band, or were you sort of just like interested in, because right now you're in Lara Mar, which is a band, but like, were you a solo performer at that point, or what were you doing?
Yeah, well, I mean, I still perform.
Like, I guess I'm asking how the transition from the realization moment where you're like, boom, I'm in a cafe, I want to do this, to like, how did the transition go to you actually performing?
Right, that's a good question.
Thank you.
No problem. I honestly, it was just very organic. Like, I feel like, it started out with me playing by myself on the piano. I think at one point there was just a little level of slight boredom with my own self. Like
what do you mean?
Well, just in the music that I like, there's typically like a lot of different elements involved. And I do respect like sparsity in music too, don't get me wrong, but for me, like things like vocal harmony, different instrumentation can be really captivating. And I think when I started to play around a little bit with harmonies and with just trying to rearrange songs in different ways with different instrumentation, that's when I really fell in love with the process, because I was like, oh wow, like this song takes on a whole different emotional arc when I add cello to it, or when I have like 3-part harmony. So
the organic part is like just finding the layers that ended up being what you have now. Yeah.
And honestly, it was like, in the case of like, there's a cellist that I play with all the time, Anna Jarvis, and I saw her playing with somebody else, and I was just like completely enamored with her playing, and I literally accosted
this is who you play
her.
With
I
fangirl
accosted her.
She's fangirl worthy for sure.
Yeah, after the show. And then she's just also just the most humble, sweet, like lovely individual. And oddly enough, after we'd been playing together for a long time, we were chatting about how apparently she had a time in her life where she also lived in London, Ontario, which was so weird. And then she actually went to the same elementary school as me, but at a different time.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was just such an odd synchronicity, like, but
totally.
Yeah, anyway, it's just kind of cool when you find people that you sync up with artistically, and you like it elevates things to a different level.
Right.
So.
With your vocals as well. Was that something like I don't want to concentrate too much on just the piano side of things. Like, were your vocals something that you found very early as well? Like, were you singing early on? Because you went to musical theater school, so obviously there was something there where you're a vocalist.
Yeah, I would say above any other aspect. Yeah, I do. I've been singing for the longest amount of time, and that again is just, attributed to singing around the house, and my dad always singing, and us always having music on growing up. And I guess my family, like, they did a good job of just encouraging the various talents or abilities of the different members of my family, like in terms of my siblings and myself. So we have a little cassette tape at my parents' house of me as like a 4-year-old singing with my mom, "You Are My Sunshine," and it's such a shy rendition. Oh. Like, it's just such a timid little thing.
Baby Lara.
Yeah, but I don't know, maybe that kind of sparked something in me, like hearing that back, being like, oh, you can express yourself in this way, and this is just another way of expressing yourself. I don't know.
I think I have a very similar tape at home. I feel like maybe there's a remix in the future, or like we can maybe overdub and maybe rap is something you take up later.
Yeah, just
Maybe you'd consider that. I don't know.
Beatbox for sure.
Oh, you're just taking
you
on
never
beatbox.
know. I don't know.
That's amazing.
I don't know. Yeah.
That's so cool. So, what do you feel like? I always kind of hate this question, but I think it's important to ask to give listeners sort of an idea of what they're in for. You do have like an album coming out very, very shortly.
Yeah.
And is there a genre of music that you feel like it fits into? I kind of hate that because I don't really like to put anybody's art into a box, because I mean you can go ahead and do whatever the hell you want later. A lot of our artists that people like do different things. But is there a genre that it would fit into, like your current album?
Yeah, I often tell people it's kind of pop with a little hint of soul, but I will say that on this particular album, it is a really diverse mishmash of sounds. I specifically wanted it to be that way because there's different aspects of myself musically, and also I love listening to albums where one song might sound really poppy and then another song might be more folky or with a lot more harmonies or whatever. So I think if people end up getting the album, they'll find that there is like quite a variety of stylistic choices on there. Some songs sound really produced with some beats and things like that, and other songs, I have this one song that honestly is almost like a classical arrangement with just vocals on top of it. So it's quite a diverse mishmash of styles on the album. Yeah,
right. So you don't want to really pigeonhole it.
Yeah, but I mean overall it's kind of pop with a little soul flavor.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's very exciting.
Yeah.
So amongst like Tori Amos is obviously somebody who you saw performing. Did you went to the concert presumably because you liked her?
That's true.
Is there any can you actually nail down people that you think of as true inspirations as artists that really influenced you as a kid or through your like teenage years or what?
Oh, that's such a tough question because
I know.
There's so many people. There's so many people. Oh my gosh. The first concert I went to see was Bryan Adams, believe it or not.
Well,
Bryan
look at you just
Adams.
starting off at the top. I went to like a shitty punk, oh no, I shouldn't say that. That's not true at all. My first concert was Incubus.
Wow.
Which is a very good band.
Wow.
So it wasn't shitty.
Yeah.
I mean, one afterwards was a shitty one, but which is a totally terrible experience. But Incubus had that, I think it like planted a seed in me. So did you have like a feeling? And it's not to say like I like to only play that kind of music, but like there was a performance about it. The way that the lyrics always have impacted me, like specifically. Yeah. I mean, if there's a harmony and all the melody, everything sounds good, I'm like in. But if lyrics really resonate and there's like a clear emotion, then that's it for me.
Yeah.
But, like, can you think of any other?
Yeah, for me, obviously the people that have really revved me up musically oftentimes are female singer-songwriters.
Yeah, same.
Because obviously, like,
look
I
through
relate
your album
to
and all
that.
of a sudden you're like, or your iTunes and you're like, whoa, I'm like, all about the femme here right now. I do too. I look through and go, wow, like, because you can actually relate with them. You're like, I'm a female singer.
Yeah.
So
so female singer-songwriters have always I've always really connected. Obviously, like, no one can forget Joni Mitchell. She's like such a key inspiration to so many people.
Singing and lyricist and playing everything. I think she's like the package.
She is. She's the full package, and I think just the poetry of her lyrics alone.
It's killer, yeah.
Like, even if you took her lyrics completely, out of the context of the music, they would
there's
still
a
shine.
Poem book. Like,
absolutely.
It can just be its own book.
Yeah. So yeah. And then we went to see Regina Spektor together.
Yeah, just
that
amazing.
Was seriously one of the most magical concerts that I've ever been to. Like,
I would say so for me too.
I still think about that concert and I get chills because for me it was like the whole thing musically, emotionally, it was very captivating, like just her and her piano and then a few elements.
Yeah.
But also
there's a quirkiness about it that really drives like kind of theatrical though.
Yes.
There's a theatrical quirkiness about that woman. Regina Spektor just has that thing.
I think, you know what it is? It's anybody who is unafraid to be authentically who they are.
Yeah.
You can really feel that, you know? And it's just so refreshing for everybody because they're like, oh my God, thank God, someone who doesn't feel like they have to pretend to be this way or that way. They can be as beautifully weird as they are. And we love them even more for it.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
So that's what, like, you know, there's a common thread actually between her and Tori Amos. Well, they both play the piano and sing, but like they both have that a little bit of an eccentricity about them.
Right.
But yet they just own it. And they don't apologize for it in any way. And it's like so
like there's no apology.
Refreshing and really, yeah, it's amazing to see.
Yeah, because I don't know if I mean, I might have gravitated a little bit towards some pop, you know, like I had the typical Spice Girls influence and stuff like that, or different things that way. But was there any like really poppy kind of things that you were into?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because I mean, I definitely had the typical stuff, but I don't know if I was really. But then again, I think that I was really into the lyrics of them. They weren't like amazing lyrics, but lyrics really take me. Yeah. Especially from Regina's music. Yeah. Because they're weird. I know. And you sort of have to make up your own story sometimes to be like, what? Yeah. What is this woman talking about?
You know, like for me, it's like it could be any element, you know, like sometimes it's the lyrics for me. It often is, but sometimes when I was younger, I would just gravitate towards those power ballad type singers.
Oh, sure.
Like Whitney Houston.
Sure, yeah. Why the hell not?
I went through a secret Celine Dion phase when I was really young.
Oh, no.
Right, yeah. So it's just like, I just really loved people that could belt it out.
Yeah,
like,
that's always satisfying to hear somebody who can do that, because you're like, I mean, that just feels good. Yeah. When you like, if you're belting something out and like, I'm not a belter, but like if you ever do and you hit that note, you're just like, damn, that feels good.
I know. So
there's power in the power ballad, I guess.
There's power in
so
the
much
power
energy.
Ballad. I think there's a little crossover there with me enjoying the musical theater and that kind of thing.
Oh, there's always that power. Yeah, you don't really have to want for it too much in a musical. There's a guarantee belt.
There is a power ballad 12, in every musical theater show.
Oh, for sure. It doesn't matter where you are or what it is.
Yeah. So
that's so cool. Yeah. So like, do you find any sort of in this specific album that you're doing, or that's finished? I guess you finished it. Yeah. Looking back on the process and everything like that, do you feel really fulfilled at this time when you're looking at the process and you're looking at what you've created? Yeah. Are you feeling good about what you've created?
You know what? This is the first time that I've created something that I can honestly say I feel like in my soul very satisfied with it. And
that's great.
It's for a lot of different reasons, and it's not to say that I'm sure like any artist
you're never going to feel completely satisfied with it.
In a few years or even in 5 minutes, I might listen to it and think, oh, I wish I did this differently.
Fair enough, yeah.
Right?
But in this moment,
though, I feel really good about it, and I just want to like give a couple shout outs right now.
Oh, go for it.
Yeah, one is the guy who recorded this album with me and through his recording studio at Typewriter Studios is named Graydon James, and he I just like have to say that he was so amazing in his co-producing hat that he put on, because he just gave me a lot of space to do what it was that I needed to do, but then he was so generous with his ideas and his contributions. And it was just such an easy working relationship. Like, and he's just so funny,
That's
right?
really special in creation. Like, hugely special.
Yeah. And it was one of the first projects that I worked on where I just felt it was really an easy process because it was a lot of fun, right?
Oh gosh, that's so good.
Yeah. And because
you feel like
it was fun,
because of him a lot.
Yeah, because it was fun, I think we were willing to try things and then throw it out, you know, like, we're going to fool around with this and see if it works, and maybe it doesn't, you know, but like that was an awesome creative experience to have, right?
So important. Yeah. So you found that through this recording. Yeah. They're actually Graydon James. They do our theme music, and we're so happy that they do that. It's awesome. Beautiful music. Yeah. It's really a special thing when you work with somebody, I think, for sure, that you click with. I know. And because creative types are definitely extreme types and very just delicate sometimes, and creating some things like raising a child. So I mean, there's going to be intensities.
I'm sure like Graydon's definitely seen me in all my aspects, and I just want to give kudos to him, not only for helping to produce this album, but also he played on many of the songs. He's an extraordinary musician.
Totally.
And his wife, Laura Spink, who's an amazing vocalist, also sang
they
backup.
both have wicked voices too.
The
harmonies
on the album.
and
and the whole thing, I
ear
really
candy.
Feel like it was just like a labor of love, like the whole thing. And there was one the other day we were listening to one of the tracks, and there was a lot of harmonies and a lot of the people singing on it. Basically, all the people on the album are friends of mine, right?
Oh, wicked.
And at one point we were listening to the harmonies, and I said, that's the sweet sound of friendship right there, Graydon James. Because, it really is.
When harmony literally is that definition, when things are coming together, and it's like pleasant.
Yeah,
There's a pleasant sound to it.
Absolutely.
So in the theme sort of our podcast, in the way of faking our way through things in life, I know that we had a very well-known improver on our show last week, and she was just talking about basically how acting kind of feeds into a lot of things that we do in our lives, because improving or improvisation is everywhere.
Yeah.
And I know that exists a little bit in music for me if and when I perform, which hasn't been for a long time, to actually be like, oh shit, I know I have to get my way out of this or remember what the fuck I'm doing. Because performing can be a little bit of like a vortex you get sucked into and you lose your place or something like that. But in a more general sense, is there some way creatively you feel like maybe you fake your way through things, not in a negative way, faking through as in like, I'm going to try this because I don't know what's going to happen. I feel like your album has been a bit of like taking a leap of faith. So in that vein, do you see any sort of thing like that or experience that you've had in creative ways of like how you've made your way through improving?
No, I can honestly say that every single thing that I've ever done in my life that is worth doing, I've been faking my way through, like from the get-go. No, honestly. And
it's very brave of you to admit.
Yeah, no, and I think most people are faking their way through everything all the time.
Like every moment of every day.
Every moment of every day. And to be honest, if you're not and you're just doing the things that you feel comfortable doing.
Yeah, that you think that you've written out or prepared for.
Chances are you're living a small life, in my opinion, because you're not giving yourself the freedom to take risks. And
to play.
Yes. And I think creativity requires you to kind of jump into the unknown, and that's what gives you that adrenaline rush and makes it exciting and fun.
Oh, totally.
But
yeah,
it's
when something
also
works.
What can be really terrifying about it.
Oh yeah, like,
right?
Yeah, like shit your pants terrifying.
Yeah. But there's an author that I love so much, Elizabeth Gilbert, and she recently wrote a book on creativity called Big Magic.
Oh, cool.
And Elizabeth Gilbert, Big Magic.
Okay, I'll put that in the show notes.
Yeah,
and get up.
I so highly recommend that people read this.
And why is that? What's the deal about it?
Because she addresses a lot of these issues that, you know, in order to be a creative person, you do have to kind of, you know, be willing to jump into the unknown and take some risks. And sometimes that feels like we are literally going to self-destruct because it can be so terrifying. But ultimately, we're not going to self-destruct by being creative.
Because what's the worst that can happen?
Right.
You always have to ask yourself that.
Yeah.
What's the worst that can happen?
Yeah. And actually, like I definitely can get like super nervous if I'm performing live and things like that. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I sometimes tell myself to calm myself down is we're all going to die one day. No, honestly, Liz, like I tell myself
I believe
that.
you. I just think it's great because I'm going to start doing that.
No, because the thing
is... Because then that goes back to what really matters or what's really going to happen if I fuck up a line. Yeah. We're all going to die.
Yeah. No, I feel like if you put everything next to we're all going to die one day, it makes it like, what is there to worry about?
A lot. Right. What is there to worry about? But also the loveliness of spontaneity.
Right. And also, let's say you messed up in front of thousands of people. All those people are going to be dead one day, and so are you. Right?
Yeah.
Like, it just puts it into major perspective.
Yeah. I mean, I've literally with my eyes seen Adele,
yeah,
the queen of all things,
yeah,
like be like, oh, I fucked it up. Let's start again. Sorry, never mind. Like she just
I was at that concert also, Liz.
Yeah. Oh, with me.
Yeah. With you. FYI.
Whoops, forgot about it. I'm an asshole with the capital A. Boop, boop.
No. But yeah.
I've seen too many concerts with you, so you're going to die one day and so am I, so I'm not embarrassed.
Yeah, no. But like, I don't know. I think actually that's honestly part of why the world is in love with Adele, because she is willing to be imperfect in front of people and
she accepts it. But it's the same thing as what you're talking about Regina. And she's not like weird like they are or like quirkiness. That's like a cool thing. She's more just like, I am who I am. And hey, here's Adele. Like, and that's really, I think, attractive to people.
It's something so attractive about people that actually accept themselves, because so few,
totally so few people
and it's
do.
an ongoing thing, right? I mean, I think there are moments where we're all like, yeah, I love and accept myself, and then there's like the next day you might be like, I hate the way
I do not love and accept myself. I do not love and accept myself.
No, but
that doesn't take away the fact that you can be embarrassed,
right?
Like,
of course,
that's gonna happen,
right.
But that's cool. So you feel that like you fake your way through a lot, and that's sort of how you live.
I fake my way through everything, Liz. Everything. I'm just gonna put it out there for all of your listeners. And but you know what? Like I'm happy to say that, because I honestly think that part of kind of like living a full life is just being willing to try things,
Yeah, and make mistakes and just be okay with the mistake.
Yeah.
But of course, it is also very nice to succeed.
Yeah.
And I think that that'll happen. I mean, I think that happens in any chance that you're going to take.
Right.
It'll happen.
But also, you know what? Like, I think it's important for people to reflect on how they measure success, because it's great to do something and have it receive all these accolades, but ultimately, like, when you're a creative person, the motivation behind doing things is almost just because there's no other option. Like, sometimes emotion can accumulate in people, aka me or whoever, and literally it sometimes feels like there's nowhere to put it if not into a creative thing.
Yes, absolutely.
Right?
Oh, for sure. If you're going in like a 9 to 5 and just sitting in an office, where does that fit?
Yeah. And also I think it can be just so cathartic, because if you have a little bit of a sensitive nature or a sensitive heart and you're going through life can really be hugely challenging at times, as we all know, and we might go through some intensely like dark things, or
absolutely,
or even some like euphoric moments, and
or you just don't even know what to do with yourself,
exactly,
because you're so happy.
Exactly. So
but then the opposite can occur.
And I think the beauty of having some outlet, like, and it could be anything, like it literally could be going home and rearranging all your furniture. I think the beauty of having something that you can pour that into.
Outlets.
Yeah. It's just
a fan of outlets.
It provides you with a great relief. And, I was honestly thinking about the process of making this album, and I was thinking, obviously, like, I do want people to hear it, and I want to share it with as many people as I can, because it's something so near and dear to my heart. But above and beyond that, honestly, the process of making it saved me from myself, because like,
talk more about that.
No, honestly, like, when I started making this album, it was at a time in my life where everything was falling away. Like, I was changing jobs, I was changing relationships, I was moving out of a
houses
house,
and everything.
I was friendships were changing, and so there were so many things that were changing and falling away in my life that I literally needed something to pour the intensity of the emotions that were coming about as a result of that into. And like, I am so thankful that this collaboration was able to happen at that precise moment, because every time I would go to the studio and we work on this and we would bring in different artists and we would riff off ideas or try different things, I would feel like a little bit of that lightness coming back to me, coming back to when we were light.
Oh,
like,
wow.
I would feel like a little piece of myself returning to me, you know? And it was honestly...
That's spectacular.
Yeah, no. It was just such a wonderful feeling to feel like I was like, at the beginning of this process, I was looking at myself in the distance almost, and then I felt myself almost like coming back into me as I started to create this project. So
that's fucking phenomenal.
Yeah.
So even the process of you, before like you even got into the recording studio and all this amazing stuff is going on.
Yeah.
Like even like I probably could go back to my texts a year ago or whatever it was, and you being like, I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna submit this grant and I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna see if I can get, this funding for an album. And I'm like, yeah. And then it came through. Like even that experience was you taking a leap to do, why not, right?
Yeah.
What can happen? What's the worst that could happen?
Okay, well, the process was that somebody who I met in passing told me about this grant, and they were like, the Toronto Arts Council grant for music creation grant, okay? And the deadline was honestly like a few days later. And for some reason, the way in which this person presented it to me, like, oh yeah, no, you could do it. Like, this is totally like your category, your field. They made it seem really easy, which ultimately it wasn't that easy, like the writing of it.
Yeah, grants are not easy.
Right. But I think because they tricked me into thinking that it was... No, I got a certain motivation, and I think that's what also the faking it thing comes in as well.
Right.
Where like I suddenly had this motivation, like I don't care what happens,
come hell or high water,
but I am
doing
determined
this.
to finish this, like to actually
finish the grant,
submit it. And I remember, being in my kitchen, and my roommate was on a date at the time, right? And they were, going back and forth barbecuing something out on the porch, and I was typing away like a mad banshee, like in the kitchen, you were firing away at this grant. And then every once in a while I would shout out, some random question to her to get her feedback on, what does this sound like? Does this sound good? And then meanwhile I'd be texting Graydon, who's produced the album. I would be texting him, oh, how do I do this? What about this? Blah, blah, blah. So there were all these different people that were like converging to help make it happen. And then I remember when the results came in, and I had to log into the website to see if I got it or not. My heart was honestly in my throat, because I knew in my soul that I had done the very best job that I could with the actual grant application. So I knew that there would be a part of me that would be massively disappointed if I didn't get it, because I really did
putting yourself there,
put myself out there on the line. And then when I got it, I was probably the happiest that I've been in my whole existence, because it was such a validating moment, and that this money and this opportunity was available to actually make this vision in my head come true,
be reality.
Yeah, and I think I put out some gushy like Facebook status, and then
that's okay, girl.
Yeah,
you do what you got to do.
It was just and then like just getting the people congratulating, and a lot of loving messages coming through that really
well, it's deserving. I mean,
it was just really I don't know, I'm just really grateful, super grateful too.
And I feel like I can say like you really deserve it, and it's a weird thing to say in that way, because so many people do apply for these things, and like if you didn't get it, I'd still be like, you deserved that, but you didn't get it. The grants are weird that way. Like sometimes they just don't pan out, and it's like, who knows why. Maybe it was shitty, maybe someone else got it over you. But absolutely. I think that like you getting it is so perfect and fitting of like what you're saying, everything that was coming together and going on, and like You're an absolute joy to listen to watch, to hear your lyrics, all these things. I know it's awkward. We're just sitting in a room and I'm complimenting the shit out of you. But like, I honestly think that this is, I've heard some of the tracks, sneak peek, and I'm really excited for this. And I can't wait for other people to hear it.
Yeah.
So I want to congratulate you on coming this far and taking the chance, because it's hard to even do that. Some people are so fearful of the rejection of like, what if I write this thing and they stop there?
Yeah. I just want to say though, because I have a guilty conscience coming about now that like, obviously there are so many amazingly talented people that do submit these applications. Oh yeah, totally. And obviously, like, I've submitted many a grant that I have not received. I would just like to say that. Yeah. And it
hurts. It hurts.
It hurts. It cuts like a knife. But you know what? Like, I really, I don't want to make that the mantle of like what is good or what is not or whatever, right? Like,
I understand. You don't want to say like, well, if you didn't get it.
Yeah. And I also think what happens sometimes, unfortunately, is people will try for certain things, and then if it doesn't pan out, they quit.
That's right.
You know, and I do not encourage that in any way, because I think
don't ever give up.
Yeah, I think, and as I said, like, this is not the first or the last thing that I will try for. Maybe get, maybe not in the future. Who knows? But I think it's important just to keep on your journey. And yeah,
the important thing is to keep doing that.
Yeah.
Because if you didn't get it this time around, I mean, I'd sure as shit hope you would do it again and to try again.
Yes, absolutely.
And creatively, we have to deal with all of these rejections a lot anyways.
Oh my gosh.
Like, that's a part of, that's like more than 50% of it, is just dealing with a lot of different levels of rejection.
Yeah. And I think, you know what, I think that when I look back on like going to acting school, one of the things that kind of prepared me for was rejection, because when you do acting auditions or musical theater auditions, it's brutal. You go in, it's like you might have a couple minutes, you do a few bars of a song, and then they're like, thank you, goodbye, or they want to talk to you further or whatever, right?
Yeah, they ask for more, whatever, yeah.
Yeah, but it could be so random. It could be like, oh, you don't quite look like what we're looking for, or you're not tall enough, or you're too short, or you're not short enough, or, you know, there's so many elements that come into play. But what I'm glad about is the depersonalization, like, because I experienced that, and I went through so many levels of rejection,
putting yourself out there and just getting smacked down.
And holy crap, like, that doesn't mean that it doesn't still sting when that type of thing happens.
Oh, that'll never get easier.
Yeah. But anyway, I'm just kind of glad in a way, because it gave me a little bit of a thicker skin for that kind of thing. So.
Yeah, super important. I think something that I've come across recently too is something that was some infographic that was shared online. But anyways, essentially it was a quote again from Jim Carrey, which I've quoted before, I believe. But anyways, that's that. I'm going to fuck up the quote, but the general idea of it is that you can set out to do something that you don't really want to do, or something that you might not be very good at, and completely fail at it and suck at it. Yeah. So why not try to do what you love?
You know what? That was in one of the commencement speech that he gave. Yep. And I was so
I saved that speech. Inspired. It's on my computer. I watch it. Like, I took the file.
Yeah. No,
I'm going to post that as well, because that speech is like unreal to me.
It's so beautiful. And I think that quote specifically that you mentioned really struck me in the heart, and I'm sure many people like yourself.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
Because it really it puts things into perspective. Like, you can fail at doing something you don't want to do, so why not give, you know?
Yeah, go out and do your own thing that you really are crazy about. And
right. And you know, and it doesn't mean that you have to make a living doing that thing. No. Like, because not everybody is in the privileged position to be able to do that monetarily, right?
No, of course not.
But even if you're just carving out a little space in the day to write a song, or to paint a painting, or to sculpt that thing that you've always wanted to be sculpting.
You want to sculpt that sculpture. You go right ahead and sculpt it.
Right.
Do it.
You know?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
So what's the title of the book again? You said
Big Magic.
Big Magic
by Elizabeth Gilbert.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna put some links of today's talk into our show notes and everything.
Amazing.
Especially where you guys can find Lara's music from Lara Mar, the band that she is in.
Nice.
And we're gonna share the tracks and may even buy some of the albums to give away to people.
Love it.
And let's. Is it possible that you would play us a little something?
Sure, Liz.
Okay, cool. So Lara's going to actually play us something. I want to thank you so much for coming on, Lara. It's been a deep pleasure.
Oh, thank you so much, Liz. It's been a lot of fun.
Good. Thanks a lot. And keep being awesome.
Okay. I'm going to play a cover for you kids out there in the world. I was going to say on the street, and that just sounds so wrong.
Welcome to Sesame Street. I'm going to play a little song for you kids on the street.
Well, you know what? It's funny that you said that, Liz, because this cover is actually from Sesame Street.
What?
No word of a lie.
How did I know?
No word of a lie.
Do
right?
that.
Okay, so this song is one of my favorite songs from Sesame Street called I Don't Want to Live on the Moon. And when I first heard Ernie singing this, it just really warmed my heart so much. And I thought to myself, this song, it's kind of about existential loneliness. And I feel like even though it's a kid's song, adults can relate to it too.
Cool, let's hear it.
So I rigged it up in a special way. Here we go. Oh, I'd like to visit the moon on a rocket ship high in the air. Yes, I'd like to visit the moon, but I don't think I'd want to live there. Oh, I'd like to look down at the earth from above, but I'd miss all the places and people I love. So although I might like it for one afternoon, oh, I don't want to live on the moon. I'd like to travel under the sea. I could meet all the fish everywhere. I'd like to travel under the sea, but I don't think I'd want to live there. I might stay for a day there if I had my wish, but there's not much to do when your friends are all fish. And an oyster and clam, they aren't real family. So I don't want to live in the sea. I'd like to visit the jungle, hear the lions roar, go back in time and meet a dinosaur. There are so many strange places I like to be, but none of them permanently. So if I should visit the moon, I might dance on a moonbeam, and then yes, I'd make a wish on a star, and I'd wish I was home once again. Oh, I'd like to look down at the earth from above, but I'd miss all the places and people I love. So although I might go, I'll be coming home soon. Oh, I don't wanna live on the moon.
Thank you so much, Lara.
No problem, Liz.
I love you.
I love you too.
Oh man, a huge loving thanks to Lara Martin. Her album, When We Were Light, is coming out soon. I'll be giving away some of her CDs, so follow on Twitter at Faking It Podcast and find the group on Facebook. Guys, Faking It made it to the new and noteworthy section on iTunes. We could get even farther with your help. If you could, please just take a minute to visit the podcast section of the iTunes Music Store, rate and leave us a comment there. That's how we're going to race through the ranks and make it to the top. Keep loyal, and until next time.